Hi everybody, it's Robbie from Southern California, and I came out. As you can see, it's getting dark, the sun is going down, and I have been cleaning up my chair garden. I can't wait to make another one. Let's just go over some of the things I've done really quick. I'm using my cell phone today. I've cleaned all the totes out. Don't worry, a couple of you asked me to show you how I've done it. I'm going to do a couple more with you. It's all the same. Basically, if the soil is good, I just added some more soil to the top, maybe from another tote, if it went down. Some of these went down, some of them didn't. I cleaned up the zucchini. I pulled the rest of the zucchini off, and we'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to make it, but the point is we're so late in the season that if I tried to grow new zucchini, I don't think it's going to get large enough to plant to grow anymore. So I'll baby what's in here and we'll see what happens with that. This is lettuce, and yes, that I want to collect some of the seeds, and I want to get some more lettuce growing. See the seeds in there? There's some seeds. Just sprinkle them in there. Look at this. You know what this is? That's a tomato that fell in there, and these are baby tomato plants. I might get lazy this year, and what I might do is go through some of the tomatoes, like this one's split, and I might just grab some of the tomatoes off, dry them, cut them in half and dry them, put them in a cup, and just hold them until spring, early spring, and start growing them, and do it that way. I don't even have to wash them or do anything. That way it works. I do it. I've actually thrown tomatoes in a cup whole and then go back later and just throw them in the ground, especially where I'm composting in containers, and then I end up with this, and they'll get really big. They'll get about that tall, and then I can separate the ones I want, like they'll get this size. They won't get really big because they're in a clump. See, there's a few different ones in there, but you separate them. It's so easy to separate tomatoes and then just plant them around. That's how we got all these tomatoes this year. All the tomatoes in here are volunteers. I didn't buy any plants this year because they didn't go anywhere. So I just planted volunteers, and we've had so many tomatoes that I'm freezing them now in bags. So I should have plenty of tomatoes through the winter, I hope. Plus, we should have tomatoes growing. I'm working on that too. So this is a pepper plant, and this is doing really nice. See, I've got tomatoes back there that are really non-edibles. I kind of left them there. So the pepper plant's doing pretty good. This is my hummingbird blinder, so the hummingbirds can feed there, and then they can go there and see they can't see each other. So I've kind of freshened that up. This one I haven't really freshened up. Just kind of started trimming this plant back really, really good. And we'll see what happens with that. I still have a lot of tomatoes. I think I'm losing some tomatoes from ravens. When I was working here this morning and the other day, the ravens were screaming. They were sitting up on the line, and they were just screaming and screaming at me. So I have a feeling they're grabbing some of the tomatoes, and that's probably why I find some on the bottom. They're flying in here. I'm not going to bother covering it. Whatever they get, they get. They aren't here during the day when I see them, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now, this plant was in really bad shape. This was huge, and I trimmed it way back. This is not a Brad's hybrid. This is more of a hybrid of a midnight snack, which is a black tomato, and then it turns reddish. See how red it's turned? Had a lot of, well, let's say probably spider mite. A lot of whitish leaves on it, reddish leaves. And technically, anybody that grows tomatoes, let's back up, will tell you, oh, get rid of it. You got to chop it out. Well, I could, but here's the problem. It's too late in the season to get a tomato plant to grow this size. And I have done it. Gary's told me once before, oh, you've really got to take the plant out. This was years ago. Trimmed it all the way back and ended up with a big, beautiful, bushy tomato plant. So I've trimmed it back. Look at all the new growth. The new growth is phenomenal. So we'll see what happens. Trimmed it back. I saved the leaves, and I put them in some of the water. So if it was spider mite, they're drowned. And then once it rots, I can use it and put it on the bottom of a tote, do what I want with it. So I just hold it that way. The leaves, if in doubt, drown everything. And I got to trim that off too. I'm just really, there's no tomatoes on there. So there's no reason to leave a stem there with no tomatoes. But, all in all, compared to what it looked like yesterday, I came out here, I think it looks fantastic. All the new growth, it's just been popping overnight. I came through here and I made my new tomato stakes here and set everything up. And I just love this. We'll see how it goes. I'll explain that later on in the year. This is not what it looks like. I made caps, so that's not what you'll think. Oh, it was made. No, it's not made out of what do you call it? Masking tape. It's something else. And we'll talk about that another time. But I just love that. So I'm framing this in, and if those ravens really were bothering it with the frame I designed, I could quickly throw some tulle on top, and that would end that. So the ravens wouldn't be able to get in here. Let's see, the strawberries never grew anything. And I think what happened in here, first of all, they're old strawberry plants. And the other thing is the tomato plant was so big and bushy, it shaded them out. Strawberries really do like a lot of sun. So they're coming out. I'll show you what I'm going to do probably with that tote. One of these totes, I'll show you how I freshen it up. And then, of course, I'll be freshening up a lot come the beginning of the year. So in a few months, we'll be going, can you believe? I just said that. In a few months, we'll be getting ready to start gardening again. At least thinking about it. But I trimmed this one back too. It had its issues, and just overnight, it's just popping all this new growth. So that's doing really good. But the strawberries will be coming out fairly soon. I want to get them out of there. Trim this one back too, trying to get them not to touch on, as you know, for some of them. That one is because I made my tomato cage, that tomato stay cage, I made that from tote to tote, so it's sharing two totes. But on this one, no, nothing's touching. Here, same thing, trimmed back everything on the zucchini plant because it's still throwing flowers. Most of them look like male flowers. That's okay because I might have female flowers on some of the others. So I'm trimming it back. I could take the whole thing out and compost it, but again, too late in the season to grow anything new. So no use on doing that right now. I might get a few zucchini out of it before the season ends. On this, I want to collect. This is garlic chives. Gee, it's getting dark really quick. I hope you can see it. It is loaded with seeds, which means they're falling here, but it's not wet enough for them to grow. So I'm going to go through and maybe collect those tomorrow. We're supposed to be hot again. The weather's warming up. Look how fast it's getting dark. I wanted to water a little bit, but I checked everything. I watered everything yesterday and everything still is wet. So I figured maybe I won't water till tomorrow. So I thought I'll just take my camera and talk to you for a minute. What I'm going to do on collecting the seeds is I'm going to say pretty much all of them are full of seeds, and I don't need to wait for any more. Some have already fallen. See the black seeds? Those are black garlic chives. I'm just going to cut the seed heads off, the flower heads that have already flowered and they're dried. I'm going to put it in something and let them continue to dry. I could do it now, but being, you know, in the evening, it's not that it's dark, but it's damp, and I want to collect them when they're more dry. So tomorrow afternoon when the sun is hot and this is really dry, I can cut them and then just put them in something and then crumble them up and get as many of the seeds I want. Now, if you were doing it to sell it, then you would want to collect them, get rid of all the leaf matter from the flower itself, and then just package up the seeds. For me, since I'm not selling them or anything, I could just crumble it up, make sure it's real dry, and then just keep them in a plastic container or put them in an envelope and put them in my seed book and save it that way until next year. Or I can plant more this year, but I have so many. The other thing about garlic chives, I should do a video on that, is you really, once you start growing it, I don't know if you can see it now, it's dark, you can't. Garlic chives separate. You can actually separate the plants that way. So they just, you can have one plant and then it separates. They start to grow multiple plants, so you can get more garlic chives that way. This one, all right, it's too dark. We're gonna have to end this. This one, I haven't really done anything with. I started to trim. I've trimmed out the watermelon. And even though the watermelon here is green, we're not gonna get watermelon this time of the year. If it starts to grow now, it's already past its prime. In other words, we don't have enough sun. We won't have enough heat. So I'm going to cut out whatever's left. There's a little bit of watermelon there, but I cut it out on this side. I'm going to move the strawberry that's here. Really have to do this during the day. And I'm going to stake this one up like I did that one. And then that's pretty much it for the chair garden. But then I'm going to put pots in here and start growing possibly lettuce. And I may make my cages around it. You know, that little cage thing, you'll see that during the day. The way I make it now, I make my end caps. I will show you. It's free how I make them. And it's not what you think you see there, because it's nothing what you see there. It's just covered. And what I'll do is I'll make a cage, and then I'll put the tulle over it. I will have to protect my lettuce, because when the lettuce first starts to grow, birds absolutely love that. And they eat the baby lettuce. The seedlings, that's their favorite. Seed sprouts are birds' favorite. And then, of course, they might nibble on the lettuce and fly in. So I don't need them to do that. And that will keep cabbage moths and stuff off my lettuce. So hopefully I won't get any caterpillars. So I'll get one of these designated for lettuce, hopefully soon. And at the same time, okay, we're in the dark now. I'll get some pots in here and get a lot of walking onions going. And if I put them in pots and I layer it, like let's say here, hope you can see something. Then when the time comes, let's say February, March, when I want to really get serious and start planting squash, I can lift the pots out, move them with the walking onions, because I love layering. You can move things and get serious onto what I want to plant. Now this tomato plant I moved here is doing fantastic. So I'm going to leave that, and hopefully we'll get tomatoes all winter. That's what I'm hoping. And so that's it. And this one does still have squash. See, this is why I'm leaving it. I'm hoping you can see that. It's too dark. This is ridiculous. Look at that. But this has got a squash. I just took a squash off of that one. So all in all, I'm hoping I've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squash plants left here. These are all zucchini, not just squash, zucchini. And if I get a few more small ones, that's a bonus. And I can either eat it for dinner or chop them up and get them frozen. All right. I think it's time for me to say it's time to go, because it is really dark. The truck bed is still loaded with squash. That is squash, a mix of all kinds of squash. But this, in my chair garden, is zucchini. All right, look at this. It reminds me of the story that I did of the hummingbird. It's on there. I just did just a story, nothing real, and how the hummingbird flew in the darkness. I don't know if anybody heard the story, and it flew because it saw light. And it ended up landing and sleeping here all night to wake up to find food. And that's what this reminds me of. See the light going through the feeder? Isn't that beautiful? So with that, I think I'm going to go walk through the garden, see what else I've got to do before the sun goes down completely. It's almost gone. So with that, have a wonderful day. And don't forget to eat what you grow. Bye-bye, everybody.